All right, it's been just over 6 months and a couple of weeks since my knee surgery. I had a complete quad tendon rupture, and so it had to be reattached. And yeah, yesterday I just ran up a nice mountain here, about 1,500 feet of elevation on a pretty gnarly trail, right? So not where I thought I would be in this time frame, not where anyone thought I would be, but it's a good reason to celebrate, right? Sometimes I get down on myself because I'm not where I want to be, but yeah, I mean that's pretty incredible. If you really think about that, that's pretty astonishing, right? So I should be happy with that. But I think there's a difference though between being happy and being hungry, in the sense that you can be happy with what you've accomplished, but you can still be hungry, right? And so I was thinking about, I wasn't sure what I was going to talk about today, but I figured I would make a video because there's a lot of stuff on my mind. But one of the big things I wanted to talk about was I'm listening to the audiobook of this Benjamin Hardy book, which one of my favorite authors. If you haven't read Willpower Isn't Enough, or what is it called? I think it's Willpower. Willpower Isn't the Way. Anyway, you'll figure it out if you search Benjamin Hardy and Willpower. One of my most favorite books, right? His first book, I think, that he published. But this new book is called The Science of Scaling, and I was thinking about just it only took me like the first chapter of the book where he talks about setting an impossible goal. And I've heard this before, and I've always been like, I almost even just turned off the book. But then I was like, wait a minute, okay, let's just try this, right? So if you know my new business, Rockstar Developer University, right? It's a high ticket program. It's coaching for software developers to help them build their personal brands online, right? Really good opportunity. Obviously, like all that I've done, the businesses I've built, the YouTube channel, all the stuff that I've been able to create for myself and build myself a nice life came from building my personal brand, right? Originally as a software developer, then as a douchebag manosphere guy. No, kind of, but whatever. but basically building my brand. So anyway, with that business, what I've been kind of targeting is trying to hit like 100K a month revenue by the end of this year, and then sometime next year get to 300K a month. But then I realized, I was like, no, let's set the impossible goal. Like, what if I just set the goal of being at 500K revenue in the next 6 months? What would that look like? And that's the thought exercise. And then I realized that it's like, okay, well, what I would have to do immediately is not close my own sales, right? Not close my own deals. I've been working on sales training. I've become fairly good at sales, right? Not great at this point, but I've taught some people what I've learned about sales, but definitely not in the top tier. But what I wanted to do was become top tier in sales. I wanted to really develop mastery in sales. And maybe at some point I will, but what I realized was that's kind of holding me back from reaching this bigger goal, because am I good enough in sales right now where I could hire salespeople, interview them, where I could coach some of the people on my team, see what they're doing wrong, if I bring on sales, or even get in a sales manager? Yeah, I am. And so what I realized was, if I wanted to get to 500K a month in revenue, I made a little spreadsheet and I calculated exactly out what the numbers would look like in terms of calls and close rates and percentages of show ups on calls and ad spend and everything, and cost per book call. And I realized that all I need to do is essentially hire a sales manager, and then have that person hire some salespeople, and we'll just scale it up to there, and I could be there in 6 months. I could be at 500K a month revenue, right? And so that's my plan. That's what I'm going to do now, right? So it's kind of crazy how that worked, because I would not have imagined that's, I was kind of trying to take this step-by-step approach of just growing incrementally. And what I realized, from that, the reason why I'm making this video, I guess, is because I think it's useful to you and to all of us, in the sense that when we try to grow incrementally, by step, the issue with that is that, you get the incremental results instead of the 10x results, right? So I've talked about doing 10x, basically setting 10x goals, and things are going to be 10 times harder. By the way, Grant Cardone's book 10x Rule, if you haven't read that, you should read that. It's kind of the same principle here, but it's very true. And so it's like, I set a goal for next year of running a 50-mile race. I'm going to sign up for it November 13th. I think the registration opens, and it's it's like 15,000 feet elevation. Right now, if I try to incrementally get to that, how many years will it take me before I'm ready to run a 50-mile race? It'll probably take me like 4 or 5 years of incrementally increasing till I get to that point. But if I say, okay, I have to do this in a year, less than a year, because it's in August, then I just have to set a plan that's going to get me on that path. You know what I mean? Like, so a lot of times it's better in life to choose that big goal and then to work backwards from how to get to it instead of working forwards how to get to it. Does that make sense? It's like if you start at the big goal and you're like, okay, I have a shrunk timeline, how can I actually achieve that? That's a lot better. But yeah, so in other news too, just, again, this could be multiple videos, I suppose, but I was kind of at this point this last week too of wanting to give up. I know I say that a lot, but hey, I'm being honest with you guys, because that's what it's like. It's not going to be just smooth sailing. Even this advice I'm giving you, if you apply this, you're still going to hit periods where you want to give up. Like, no matter how much mental toughness and discipline you get, and I think you can get better at it. I think you can get better at fixing the problems and figuring out how to work through the issues, but you're never going to completely solve it. It's never going to be completely gone where you don't feel like that. But beginning of this week, yeah, I was just like, I was tired, and I had to kind of troubleshoot a little bit, and maybe this is helpful to you as well, is I've been working out, crazy workouts. Just finished my run today, ran up the mountain, ran another few miles today, and it was just like I was doing these crazy, just all-out sprint workouts, interval workouts, and I just was tired. I was tired on Monday. Felt like I was just falling asleep no matter how much sleep I had to take multiple naps. And then I had these sales calls, and I was bombing every sales call, like didn't make any sales with all these calls. And it was just, someone hung up on me. It was just I was not feeling it. And I was trying to go do my workout, and it was just so hard, just dragging ass. In fact, Thursday night, that workout, I couldn't even do it. I just bonked on it. Like, I had to actually message my coach and say, hey man, I hate to wave the white flag because I'm not that guy, but I have to be that guy. Like, I have to say that I think the volume that we're doing, it's more than I can recover from, honestly. You know what I mean? And that's tough. It was tough for me to do, but that same night, that's when I was listening to that Scaling with Science, or the Science of Scaling, and that's where it clicked in my head. That's where I was like, because I was feeling hopeless, I think. And I think when you're on this incremental path, you can feel hopeless because you don't see progress, you don't see growth, you don't see a path forward. But when I switched that up and I had this new path, it just, all of a sudden that motivation came back. And obviously I got some rest and slept and stuff like that. And I think that helped as well. But it's like I was saying a couple weeks ago, is that, so sometimes it's just going to be like that. And I had to also keep on telling myself, like, all right, just make it through this day. Just keep going, because things come in cycles, right? You have an up, you have a down. And the up is going to come again, right? As long as you believe that, right? You can get yourself into a downtrend where you start fucking up your life if you stop doing what you're supposed to be doing. And so I just stuck to the plan. I just did the workout as best as I could. And, yesterday I had a good workout. Today was tough, but I'm feeling good. And I got some sales that came in, and I have a new plan, and I'm taking action, right? And so, anyway, I hope that just gives you some encouragement, because, no matter, and I've been doing this for a long time, man. I've been through a lot of stuff in my life of running races and training for hard shit and working hours and building up businesses. And I'm telling you, no matter what, you still are going to have those days where you feel like giving up and quitting, and you got to choose to not do that. That's the key. But it's not easy, but if you keep on going, eventually you come out of it. And the way you come out of it is sometimes you can't just even mindset yourself out of it. You just got to work your way out, and that's something that, it's easy to forget, but it's like, the most satisfaction you'll ever feel in life is a hard day of work where you're putting your full self into it, right? And I was thinking about this. I'll give you one last point. Is I've been thinking about this concept. I was talking about it with my wife yesterday too. It's like, you know, your life is short. Like, you only have the now, right now, in any moment of now. By the way, the book to read is The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle. But you only have the now. And so if you're not going to give your all, if you're going to live a miserable life in the now, it's a waste. Like you're never, you know, if you're like, oh, well, later I'll be happy, later my life will be good, later. Well, there is no later. You can't live in the later. You can only live in the now. And so, you know, if you're never making that choice for now to be happy, for now to be fulfilled, for now to enjoy what you're doing and to put your heart into it, then you're never going to make that choice. Do you understand what I'm saying? Is like, why would any other moment be different? Because every moment is the now, right? You know? And so that's sometimes how I get through hard runs, is I just think I can take one more step. I'm living in the now right now, and right now I need to take just one more step. And of course, you can always take one more step. All right, see you next time.